Hey guys, so I've been meaning to get back into making some more comic-based content, and I figured what's a better way to do that than to just rage bait you guys. So without further ado, I wanted to present you guys 10 comic hot takes that I have. I'll be placing them on a scale from mild heat is level 1, level 2 is spicy, level 3 is piping hot, and level 4 is radioactive. And these will be based around both comics and movies as well, because I know a lot of people don't read an extensive amount of comics and just watch the movies. That's okay too. I have hot takes in there for you guys as well. Yeah, if you disagree with me, please comment. I respond to comments. I'll debate with you. If you want to hate, please hate on me. I want to create community, and you can't create community in a comic book space without starting arguments. So here we go. Okay, starting with level 1, mild heat. This one isn't going to be as bad. I think most people agree with this. Marvel needs to let the X-Men go. I'm a little bit sick of the X-Men, and not the X-Men as a concept, but the X-Men that we've been seeing on screen for the past 25 years. They need new life. They need to attract a new fan base. They need to win back their place in the audience's heart, and you can't do that when you're dragging the same old X-Men on screen that we've been seeing since 2002. I think it's getting a little bit comical how many send-offs they're going to have for these X-Men. Think about it. X-Men 3, The Last Stand, was marketed as the last X-Men movie of this franchise. The send-off, The Last Stand, okay? And then that didn't happen. And then they rebooted it, but with the same characters, okay? Then we follow them. And then X-Men Apocalypse was supposed to be, okay, this is the last one. This is the last event movie. This is it. Okay, that's 10 years later, all right? That happens. And then they're like, okay, wait, I feel like we didn't properly send off the original X-Men, even though they did. So then they do Logan in 2017, which is a great film that kills off Professor X and Wolverine both. And that was already in 2017. We were already at the third send-off for these characters. We were already at 3 send-offs 8 years ago. And then they bring Professor X and Wolverine back in Multiverse of Madness for Professor X and Deadpool and Wolverine 7 years later. What happened to that send-off? You killed them. We watched them die. That whole movie just undone now? Okay, whatever. I kind of begrudgingly accepted that. Deadpool and Wolverine came out. It was a fun movie. And that's another send-off for that Fox X-Men universe. And then they do the whole like B-roll credits where you see like it's like the sad music playing, and it's like all the behind the scenes from those movies. You think, okay, this is the send-off. This is it. And then in the Doomsday trailer, they bring them back again for another send-off. What is the point of a send-off if you've been sending them off since 2008? They need to go. And I've been tired of them since before Doomsday. I know, yeah, comic accurate Cyclops, okay, whatever. Now everyone's going to act like they were a huge fan of James Marsden as Cyclops now, because he's coming back and they're jangling keys in our face. So now we got to be like, oh, I love James Marsden as Cyclops. I'm so glad I have him back. No, you're not. You didn't really care. You didn't like him in the first place. Everyone complained about him at first. It makes no sense to me. They need to let them go. Even since before Doomsday better be the last time I see any of these X-Men, including Hugh Jackman Wolverine. Yeah, including him. Yeah, maybe this makes it harder. Including him on screen. They need to be done. Reboot them, have actual young X-Men that people can follow and not just be nostalgia baited for the past literally 25 years of movies. Okay, next one. I'll make this one quicker because I ranted for that a little bit. Next one within our mild heat tier. Civil War 2 was the worst comic book event of all time. Yes, worse than Ultimatum, and yes, worse than the infamously bad Clone Saga. Wow, Marvel has some really bad events. Jeez. Yes, this was significantly worse. It somehow assassinated the character of like everybody involved, including Captain Marvel, who I had an aversion to reading anything of hers because I read that event when I was 12 years old and I thought that she was like this kind of fascist character, which is just not true. But Iron Man also sucks here. It's an obvious cash grab. What they're fighting over as compared to the Registration Act is so stupid. It's just like an inhuman that can predict the future. And it's like, it's basically Minority Report. Like, can we arrest people for crimes that they didn't commit yet? So that's already been done. It just sucks. It's so bad. Anyways, next take. Okay, level 2. These are my spicy takes. I think that Robert Pattinson should be the Batman of the DCU. Not only do I think that he would fit, I think that he should be the Batman. This is a hot take because both people who are fans of James Gunn's DCU, they say that, oh, well, he's too grounded. He's not fantastical enough. He won't fit into the universe. And the people who are fan of Reeves movies say, well, the Reeves movies are too good. we don't want to force him into this universe and forsake the Rays movies, which I don't think that's really going to happen. I think you can have both. He's arguably the best Batman we've ever seen on screen, and paired with the best Superman we've ever seen on screen for like a world's finest movie. You're telling me that wouldn't go hard? That would go insane. If you look at the Batman and Superman 2025, they both have the same arcs within their respective movies. It's about learning something questionable about their legacy and about their parents, and persevering and overcoming that and creating their own legacy, and learning that your legacy or your trauma doesn't determine who you are as a hero. It's what you actually do, which is a lesson they both have to learn at the end of their film. And both have themes of hope, self-sacrifice, perseverance. I mean, they're both greatly written movies, and they both kind of run parallel to each other. So what better time to have these two characters meet each other than now? Also, I think the whole differing tones argument is stupid because James Gunn said that he wants his DCU to have different tones from movie to movie. Even if you look at the Clayface movie, that's in James Gunn's DCU. It's directed by James Watkins and written by Mike Flanagan. And it was originally supposed to be part of the Reeves universe. In fact, Matt Reeves is even a producer on the movie. So you can have these differing tones, these darker, more grounded tones within the same universe. And that's kind of the point of this, is that James Gunn wanted his directors to have their own voice within the universe and not feel like the MCU where everything's kind of this house style. So I think it could work great. And if you know Metropolis and Gotham in the comics, like a lot of the intrigue there is the fact that Metropolis and Gotham, like you can't get any more different than either the foes they face or the general vibes of the city or the people that live there. Even the architecture is so different. Like you just can't get any more different than Gotham and Metropolis. And I think that it's supposed to feel like that. It's supposed to feel different. So I think it can work, and I think it would work if they wanted to do it. Obviously, Matt Reeves probably would just like, no, I don't want him to be part of a grander universe. I want to do my own thing on the side. And I do respect that, but I do think that it would work very well. And stop pushing the Brandon Sklenar fan cast. That's been all over my feed. I don't want him as Bat. You guys haven't seen anything he's in. I guarantee you have not watched a single Brandon Sklenar movie. You just saw that he's like 6'6" and like 240, and you're like, oh, you should play Batman because he's really big. Like, bro, really? Like, have you seen any of his acting? Like, I've actually seen him in stuff. I've seen 1923. I've seen The Housemaid. He's fine. He's not Batman. Next spicy take, I think that the 2003 Hulk, directed by Ang Lee, is the best on-screen Hulk we've ever had. And it's incredibly overhated, and it's actually pretty good. I know some people feel this way. I didn't realize that this movie has a cult following. Actually, in preparing for this video, I actually came across that, and I didn't know that. Shout out to you guys. You guys were the day ones, because I just came around to this movie like last year. So I'm definitely not a day one. If you asked me this question 2 years ago, I would tell you this movie is buns. But it actually is really good. It's pretty good. Hulk is actually menacing here, and he's not like a professor. He's not dabbing. Bruce Banner actually feels like he's tortured. They flesh out his backstory, and it's actually very dark and traumatic. His strength is represented properly. The Hulk jumps, everything. And it even inspired a comic run, The Immortal Hulk, which is now considered one of the most acclaimed Hulk comic series ever. So it's rare that you see a comic book movie actually inspire a comic book run directly, and have that run be acclaimed. Normally it's the reverse. So I think it does deserve a lot of credit for that. Okay, moving on to Piping Hot. Speaking of comics, another comic take. This one's going to piss people off if you're a real comic reader. You probably won't agree with me. I'm the only one that has him as my GOAT. But I think that Mark Waid is the GOAT of comic book writers. So yes, that means he's better than Alan Moore. That means he's better than Frank Miller. That means he's better than Grant Morrison. I'm laughing, but I actually believe what I'm saying. I'm not laughing because it does sound outrageous when I'm saying it out loud. But I do think that he's the GOAT, guys. I think you have to look at the overall. It's like the LeBron argument. He has a longevity. He has been making classic comics, classic tier comics, since the late 80s, all the way up until now. Alan Moore kind of retired early, and he kind of got nauseated from the whole comic book space and the fans in general, which I agree. Comic book fans, we suck. We suck really bad. So I don't blame him for that. He could have been the GOAT. Frank Miller, he had great comics in the 80s and 90s, lots of classics, but lately he's been writing straight BS. I mean, has anyone here actually read All-Star Batman and Robin? It actually sucks horribly, but his peak is incredibly high. I gotta give it to him. He's obviously in the conversation. Grant Morrison has a lot of longevity, but he also has a lot of questionable works, like his like Wonder Woman Earth 1 with the weird bondage stuff. That was weird. So I'm just saying, like, they all have blemishes on their resume. If you go through Mark Waid's resume, it's going to be hard to find something in there that's actually truly bad. And I think that his versatility is also, wow, this really is a LeBron argument. I think his versatility is also what sets him apart. I mean, he's written iconic runs of Superman, Daredevil. His run on Justice League was also iconic, as he is the writer of the Tower of Babel event, one of the most iconic Justice League and DC storylines ever. That also, unfortunately, sparked one of the worst pieces of discourse in the comic community, which is the whole Batman prep time thing of him having the contingency plans for the Justice League. He came up with that concept. His Fantastic Four run is also amazing, and if you haven't read it, please read it. It's my personal favorite run of the Fantastic Four. He also came up with the Speed Force in his run on the Flash, and he completely redefined the character and every adaptation that came after it. And I didn't even get to Superman Kingdom Come, which, as far as prestige comics go, as far as Elseworlds comics go, that's the best you're going to get. And that also redefined the character and the legacy of the character and the legacy of DC Comics in general. I'm just saying, guys, really look at Mark Waid's body of work, and you'll at least see why I call him the GOAT. Okay, next piping hot take. This might piss people off because Raimi fans exist and they get mad about everything, but I think that Spider-Man Homecoming is the most comic accurate Spider-Man movie ever created in terms of pure comic accuracy. If someone were to hand me Stan Lee's Amazing Spider-Man run from 1963 to 1966 and asked, find me the movie that most closely resembles what I just read in this run, I'm showing him Spider-Man Homecoming. Stan Lee's original run covers a lot of Peter's inexperiences, his shortcomings as a person and growing in that, and balancing his social life, his romantic life, and being Spider-Man. And even in Stan Lee's original run, he's not automatically this super highly capable Spider-Man like he is in the Raimi movies, where he's just immediately perfect at what he does. There is a learning curve there. And the scale is small. Like, there is no large scale, huge action pieces. It's a lot of local kind of petty criminals. And then the Vulture gets introduced very early on in the run, just like he does in this movie. And Homecoming even has the lens, like the eyes that like cartoonishly focus or cartoonishly express themselves based off of what's happening. That's a small touch. But I don't know, it feels so comic book accurate to me. I don't understand this argument of people who hate on it. Stan Lee's original run is filled with teenage angst, and so is Homecoming. And that feeling isn't properly replicated in any of the other live-action Spider-Man films. It just isn't. Okay, next take, but then piping hot. The Bat family is way too big to the point where it's getting kind of stupid. To take it further, I think that all you really need in the Bat family is Batman, Alfred, the Robins, or whoever they become when they stop being Robins, and Batgirl. That's all you need. Kate Kane, Batwoman as a character fails to interest me. Stephanie Brown, spoiler, fails to interest me. The Signal, Huntress, Bluebird, Batwing, Azrael. It's just too many characters to be in Gotham. I think that they should be moved somewhere else. Don't just erase them, but at least move them somewhere else, because I think it takes away from the effect of Batman if you have like 12 teenagers who are also dressed as winged characters running around doing the exact same thing. It takes away from the central character of Batman. He's supposed to strike fear in criminals. Criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot, and he's supposed to be using that against them. And that loses its effect if they're also worried about getting jumped by 5 13-year-olds. And panels like this, where he hears about Gotham having its first crime-free night in decades, and he starts crying. I think that has way more of a profound effect if it's just him and Robin and maybe one other person. But if there's a whole team out there doing the work, the mission that he set upon himself to do ever since that night his parents died, then I think it does take away from the significance of those moments. And I think the more characters that we introduce in the Bat family, the less time we spend in these comics on the characters that we all have grown to know and love and that are more important to the story. Like, Tim Drake is still Robin all this time. Damian Wayne has gotten like no character progression. Jason Todd hasn't had anything meaningful to do besides like brood for the past like 10 years worth of comics. Nobody knows what to do with Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. They won't even touch her character. I'm just saying, trim some of that fat off the Bat family. Have them go do their missions. I mean, the DC universe is huge in different places. Spend a little less time on developing these new members and focus on who we've been following this entire time, and especially focus more on Batman achieving his mission. And I get that part of his character is opening up to people and allowing more people into his life after living such a lonely life since his tragedy. But that's the purpose that the Alfreds and Robin and Batgirl serve. I don't think that Bluebird serves that purpose. Okay, now getting into my radioactive takes. If you stayed this long, I love you. I didn't expect anyone to actually stay this long. I thought you guys would have clicked off by now because my takes were so terrible. But I appreciate you. And if you find me remotely interesting, I have more interesting things to say, and I'll love to share them with you. So please like and please subscribe and please comment and let's talk. Okay, next up. This is going to piss off a very specific section of fandom that has a reputation for being like the Bayhive of superhero fans. Or what's Nicki Minaj? The Barbs? Yeah, they're like Barbs, bro. But anyways, the Snyder Cut was only praised because the original is a crime against humanity. Yeah, that's how I feel. I think that if the original Justice League, directed by Joss Whedon, wasn't a legitimate 0.5 out of 10 film, I don't think the Snyder Cut would be received as this pinnacle of superhero media that a lot of people perceive it as. If you look at its job, if you look at what it had to accomplish, all it really had to accomplish was being better than the worst superhero movie of all time. That's really all it had to accomplish. And sure, it accomplished that. Was it still not very good writing-wise? Yes, it was not very good writing-wise. Was it visually great? Yes, I'm not going to lie. Some of the sequences were great. Obviously, the Flash sequence, some of the shots, even the Darkseid fight was well-directed. And it was a very good-looking movie with high-quality effects, especially considering the fact that he did it in his garage, basically. I don't know how he did it, but it was during quarantine, so we didn't have a set. That's very impressive. Still not a very well-written movie. Especially in terms of when you look at the way the characters are adapted. I mean, Ezra Miller's Flash is still annoying. He still sucks. I still hate him. Gal Gadot still can't really act that well. She's still very flat. Henry Cavill's a little better than he was in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, but not saying much. Ben Affleck's Batman is worse, and he's got scenes like this.
And make no mistake, I will fucking kill you. Then I do it slow.
Like, why would Batman ever talk like this? And I get it's like a future vision or whatever, but like, it just feels like, oh, we're going to try to be dark and gritty and as edgy as possible, like all of Snyder's movies. And I'm tired of it. It's also 4 hours. I guess I didn't mention that. It's a 4-hour long movie. Like, how often do you really go back and watch the entire Snyder Cut front to back? Not just look at scenes. Like, we've all seen scenes on YouTube. No. Watch the entire Snyder Cut from front to back, all 4 hours. Like, I don't think that many people are really doing that. And it's paced terribly. Like, you should be able to tell a full story. That's one of the challenges of writing a movie, is having to cut things down and still tell a good streamlined story in 2 to 3 hours, not 4. To me, that's a failure from a story writing standpoint. But I get that he was faced with a lot of difficulty in getting his movie off the ground. I get that he got screwed over by the studio. I'm just judging it as a finished product, and I don't think that it was an insane amount better than the original Justice League. And I think that it didn't have to be that good for people to glaze it. I think people are going to glaze it either way, just because the original was just so bad. But anyways, next take. All-Star Superman as a comic book is extremely overrated. I've seen a lot of people, especially after Superman 2025 came out, suggesting All-Star Superman as like an entry level or as an introductory comic book to people who want to read Superman. That's a horrible idea. All-Star Superman is incredibly lore heavy. It's incredibly dense. It requires you to have actually a very deep knowledge of Superman's lore, Krypton, Lex Luthor, Bizarro, his relationship with Lois, his upbringing. It requires you to have a deep knowledge of all of that stuff before you even read the comic book. Why are we recommending this as an entry-level reading? To introduce new fans. Also, Superman is not even accurately portrayed in this. Oh, wow. People are going to be pissed at me saying this. But he's not accurately portrayed in this, bro. There's an issue, I think, is it issue 10? I don't remember if it's issue 10 or not. I think it is. Superman creates an artificial civilization, but like of real people. Like, he wouldn't do that. Like, that's so unethical. Like, he wouldn't do that. Like, isn't that something Brainiac would kind of do? Like, it's closer to Brainiac than it is to Superman, in my opinion. I think the best part of this comic is Superman interviewing Lex Luthor in prison as Clark Kent. That's a great scene, I admit. But I don't know. I just think it's very bloated. It's very all over the place. And it definitely is overrated when we're talking about comics to introduce people to. And I still like the comic, but I just think that, especially I've seen people call it the definitive Superman reading, the best Superman comic of all time. I have seen that, and you can find it online, and I think that's outrageous, actually. But anyways, without further ado, let's move on to our last and final radioactive take. The Avengers are not a top 5 superhero team in comics. In any order, it goes the Justice League, the X-Men, the Teen Titans, the Fantastic Four, and at 5th, TMNT, which is a comic book team. Everyone knows that they're comics first. Those are the top 5 superhero teams. The Avengers don't really come close. They might be 6th, they might be 7th, I don't know, but those are the definitive top 5. When you look at what makes a good superhero team, you have to look at chemistry first. The Avengers' chemistry kind of sucks. They're co-workers. Everybody else feels like a family. All the other superhero teams within the comics, we see way more of them hanging out. We see way more of them bantering. We see way more of their lives outside of the team. And it feels like if they were in a team, these people would still love each other. The Avengers, it just don't feel like that in the comics. Once again, I'm not talking about MCU because obviously since the MCU had its inception, everybody loves the Avengers, and I get that. But I think the MCU severely helped that team's rep because I don't think that they're a very strong team in the comics otherwise, in terms of storylines especially. I think all of the teams I named have way more iconic storylines than the Avengers, and more acclaimed comic runs by both fans and critics. And they all influenced comics in a way that you didn't really have with the Avengers. I mean, TMNT influenced the stake of independent comics in mainstream superhero media. Justice League predates all the other teams in the top 5. X-Men redefined what a comic can do as far as political allegories and as far as social commentary. Fantastic Four was the first Marvel superhero team and the first superhero family. And the Teen Titans were the first teenage superhero group. And how many times have we seen that done since that comic came out? So you can not only point to iconic storylines, better chemistry, better comic runs, but also a larger influence that these other 5 teams have had as compared to the Avengers. So yeah, that's my last take. I honestly feel like that Avengers take, the more I explained it, it's not that radioactive, honestly. I feel like I'm pretty close to being right, but let me know what you think. If you hate that take, if you hate any of these takes, the Snyder Cut thing will definitely piss people off. Snyder fans, please flame me in the comments. Call me whatever you want. Let's do it. And yeah, I hope to make a part 2 of this one day. So like, subscribe, and let me know not only what you think of my hot takes, but what hot takes that you have, and we can discuss that as well. So I'll see you next time, and I'll see you in the comment section.